be an odd paladin instead of an odd warrior, which would then give Orange a little bit more of an aggressive edge to his lineup.
Does make a lot of sense for Orange to go ahead and ban out that Druid, though. The Druid is going to be a very, hard deck for some of these decks to answer. A lot of times with Druid, you can outgain the Priest's burst potential through that armor gain through Branching Paths and the Ferocious Howls. Paladin, if it is Paladin, obviously struggles quite a bit against.
Right now, in this tournament in particular, but it's been performing quite well. It's going to be the Shudderwalk Shaman in Game 1 versus the Odd Paladin from Orange, however. And Shudderwalk Shaman, I'm assuming pretty much every Shudderwalk Shaman in this tournament is running Keleseth in the 2 slot. So without Wild Pyromancer, the matchup against Odd Paladin does become significantly worse. Still not awful. You have Lightning Storms, Hagatha, and Volcano. We can see Alan keeping 2 of those cards in hand for that very reason. But the Paladin's going to be pressuring every single turn. AoE needs to be followed up by strong reload to challenge the board or additional AoE. Eventually the Shaman runs out.
And right now, I'm looking at Orange's hand, and I don't think I've seen this many Silver Hand recruits in my lifetime. I don't think I ever have.
I've seen a lot of Silver Hand recruits in my lifetime.
I've seen a lot of Silver Hand recruits, but this is absurd. This is just, it's a whole army.
It's a good amount. They're ready.
Reporting for duty. I cannot say that enough.
The really important piece of the puzzle here, though, is that level up. We can see Orange getting that online as early as turn 4, and without spell damage, the Lightning Storm doesn't clear, and that is still 4 turns away from Hagatha for Alan. Taking a look at Alan's Shudderwalk Shaman deck, he is running 2 copies of Earthshock, only 1 Acolyte of Pain.
Yeah, a lot of players have been doing
with a
that.
Inclusion.
A lot of players have been cutting one of the Acolyte of Pains for the second Earthshock, and that's mostly just because they feel as if Even Warlock is going to be popular. So if Even Warlock is becoming more popular, you'd rather have the Earthshock over the Acolyte because it is a direct answer to Twilight Drake. Now, sometimes it does make Farsight's awkward, as we can see here, and in this matchup, it's not particularly the most strong.
Oh, dear.
But as I say that, Divine Shield Maul gets picked up. And that's a Maul. Now that's no Taunt Maul. It's no Silver Hand Recruit Maul. That is a Divine Shield Maul.
That is the Maul.
That is what all other Mauls wish to be.
All Mauls aspire to be Purifier's Maul.
If I was a Maul, I would aspire to be Purifier's Maul.
Orange has a choice to make here now, though. He could go heavily into the Maul, but that would mean
he could go shopping in the mall.
He could go shopping in the mall, but that would mean he wouldn't have as powerful of a level up for next turn.
I really like this. It's kind of a hedge your bets kind of play, where if Alan doesn't address this board state, he will be able to coin, level up, and effectively end this game as quickly as possible. If Alan does address the board, well, then he'll most likely be overloaded, and after that, he can just follow up with hero power, some one-drops, maybe even the Maul if he wishes to do so, and eventually we'll be able to Lost in the Jungle level up on a future turn. So I really like Orange's play of just taking it slow. You want to kind of grind out the Shudderwalk Shaman for its resources. That way you can capitalize on having more resources in your own hand. It's kind of weird to think how sometimes this becomes a resource battle, especially when one's an aggressive deck and the other one is a Shudderwalk deck.
Aggressive versus combo. But Alan does choose to leave up 4 recruits on the board, knowing that Orange has coin in hand and will be able to play level up this turn if he wants to.
I don't even mind Hero Power Coin Maul.
I think I like Hero Power Coin Maul.
The issue with this play is if you go for the Hero Power Coin Maul, you are weaker to Volcano because you will be forced to trade into something. So you could take a value trade with the Firefly first. You can then go Hero Power Coin Maul. And it's not that bad to Volcano, but I'm pretty sure if the math is correct, the whole board will die to Volcano. So you kind of run that risk. But if they don't have it, whew.
That's big payoff.
Whew. There's no other word, but whew.
Looks like Orange even wants to maybe hold on to the coin, level up next turn, and then coin into Vine Cleaver would be the
I like that as well.
curve.
I do think that's the huge merit for holding onto the coin, is that Vine Cleaver is in the hand. If Vine Cleaver wasn't in the hand, you could be a little bit more liberal with the coin. But coining a Vine Cleaver feels pretty good, and I think that's what Orange is setting this coin up for.
Volcano would clear here. Lightning Storm will not. And Orange then has the option to play Level Up and coin Vine Cleaver, or go Lost in the Jungle, coin Level Up.
You can just tell by Alan's facial expression. He's just like, well, you know, if he has Level Up.
He's not happy.
He's not a happy camper.
But unfortunately, there's just not all that much you can do in this matchup when a Purifier's Maul comes down on a board of dudes and you don't have 2 AoE sources, which by turn 5, you just don't.
Lightning Storm doesn't even put a dent in the Odd Paladin car right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be Volcano.
You Lightning Storm to just proc shields.
Alan could Storm here to set up for...
I don't think you can afford to.
He overloads for 2 if he does.
That's the issue, is if it were to set up into another play, like a potential draw into something else, I could kind of see the argument for it. But right now, if you commit to that, you're not essentially drawing anything, and you're just going to lose the game, so you kind of have to save it. But this right here is effectively going to end this game. Even if Volcano gets drawn, I think there's just way too much pressure on the board state right now.
Yeah, the only reason to go for the Storm last turn would be to set up for a top deck into another piece of removal that could end the game. But Volcano, well, not end the game, but that could clear the board. But Volcano wouldn't be playable because Alan would be overloaded to 4. And second Storm, you wouldn't have spell damage, so it's really unlikely that clears.
And the one thing Orange may be thinking about right now is whether the Farsighted card is something like a Hagatha. But the issue with that theory is Hagatha would have came down last turn before this level up. It definitely would have set up some kind of clear on the Divine Shields to, you know, maximize the potential of a Volcano in the future turns. So I'm pretty sure Orange has got a good read that that Farsight card isn't the most useful right now.
Healing Rain can buy Alan some time, maybe. Healing Rain plus Earth Shock onto one of the recruits kills that.
It buys about 1 turn time.
Yeah.
And if you're Alan, you're going to need a whole lot more than 1 turn time. You could go for Healing Rain, Glacial Shard, Earth Shock. Fit into Hero Power if you want to do so.
That's not taking the board back, though. It's not even setting up to possibly take the board back. If you Healing Rain, he goes to 23. Shard comes down, Earth Shock kills a recruit. That leaves 15 health still on the board.
You'd also go
Plus the minion.
Shard, Zola Shard.
Maybe Volcano becomes an out at this point.
I think another thing that Alan may have to be trying to do is set up the Hagatha for a future turn. So if he goes with this, he can Healing Rain on the following turn, but hopefully bump off the Divine Shields with the Glacial Shards that are currently on the board.
Yeah.
And then can Hagatha. The only issue with that is right now, Alan is at 11 life. And he knows Orange has been holding onto this coin. And one of the few cards in Odd Paladin you hold onto the coin for is that Vine Cleaver.
With this play, though, Alan has bought himself enough time that Volcano becomes another out to clear the board. Question then is, I mean, this is going to be 9 damage to face, unless Orange opts to take some trades here, which is just unnecessary. So even if Alan finds Volcano, he would need to heal in the same turn to prevent Vine Cleaver from just being lethal.
I wouldn't be opposed to seeing Orange take the trades onto the Glacial Shards here. Because if he knows that something like Hagatha is trying to be set up, this kind of is just reassuring, as the 2/1s won't be able to proc the Divine Shields. Honestly, at this point, I don't think it matters that much.
As long as Alan's at 4 health, he's forced to heal to play around the Vine Cleaver hitting face.
Electric Storm Surge picked up, though. That allows for double Healing Rain.
Yeah, but it doesn't give Alan mana to even Totem this turn to try to find Taunt Totem. So there's just nothing here. Well, Electra Healing Rain.
Electra Healing Rain. And then after that, you go Hagatha. And then you just let Hagatha take the wheel.
Hagatha take the wheel. All right, so Alan's going to go back up to 28. Hagatha Storm maybe would have cleared, but Hagatha Healing Rain is how he lives.
And you definitely have to go for this Electra play here.
Or Electra Healing Rain, excuse me.
Agatha Healing Rain sounds broken.
Agatha into Healing Rain is gross.
Why are we not playing Shutterwalk Shaman if you could just do that? That's what Muzzy needed last set.
Boisterous Bard plus Void Ripper. Is that enough? No, that's not enough.
You could trade off one of the 1/1s to have space for that.
It's 23.
It's not quite enough. It's getting close. But the one thing the Boisterous Bard does allow is it will allow for these 3 health minions to survive through a Hagatha.
Yeah.
So I think that's what Orange is going to be looking at doing right here. Really wants to make sure these 3 health minions live. And even trading like that, you know, minimizing the board state.
Not really looking to play around Mind Control tech because he is going to play something else here, or at the very least hit face with Vine Cleaver, but he's going to be getting so many additional recruits with the Vine Cleaver and the hero power that
it's more relevant to clear those minions off,
yeah.
Especially because one of the minions has Divine Shield, so that would really prevent it from, you know, any kind of shenanigans.
Got to push the button after because you need to play the Boisterous Bard this turn, and board would have been full. It's good ordering there by Orange. Now Hagatha does not clear.
I think you still have to do it, though. I think you have to Hagatha. You go up to 20 life. You're not quite dead on board just yet.
13 damage on board with Vine Cleaver, with the Void Ripper. It's 16, 17 with Acaris Veteran. So a Blessing of Might would be lethal with the Hagatha play this turn. But it's the best that Alan's got. He has to go for it.
I mean, he has to do this, set up the Storm for the future turn, and then hopefully find something off of these minions.
Oh, no, of course. The Void Ripper would flip damaged recruits now, so it would be even less. It's just 14 with the Acaris. Alan's done a nice job navigating this. It's been under pressure every single turn. These minions have been on the board since Orange leveled up on turn 5. But Alan has almost managed to stabilize, and without ever using that Lightning Storm in hand.
Yeah, Orange is a little bit off lethal. It does have, I believe, maximum of 16 damage. Blessing him, I would put him 1 off if he were to find that. But then he would have to go for a risk of making this play, playing out the Void Ripper, which I still think he's probably going to do so. I think he will actually go with the Void Ripper and then play the Divine Favor to maybe draw 1 card. He could commit to the Lost in Jungle as well, but he would rather have the Blessing of Might. I guess with this play, he's no longer going to commit to the Divine Favor. I would like to see him swing weapon.
Yeah, flipping keeps the recruits alive through the Lightning Storm, potentially.
And it also gives more health for something like a Volcano play. I think Volcano would still clear this board state up.
It's a 17 health, so it'd be very close. Gluttonous Ooze is
a
really nice pickup for Alan, though.
It's a little late to the party, though. I would have much rather had that a bit earlier.
Yeah, but, well, if he lives this turn, second Vine Cleaver is coming down, and then the Ooze is quite useful.
It's got to be Storm first.
Really hoping for a 3 on that 4-3 recruit.
Oh, we got one of the 3s. Did not get the second one on the 3-3, but can freeze that.
We can see he's going to have to Hex and freeze the face if he's going to survive through second Vine Cleaver.
It's just such a hard call, because if you want to freeze the face because of second Vine Cleaver, you really don't want to commit Hex onto the Void Ripper at this point. Because if you commit the Hex, you won't have something for a Baku that could be played to the board. Like, let's say Orange's hand was a little bit awkward and all he had was the Baku. You'd play out the Baku and you'd have no answer for that. Looks like he's going to freeze the 1-1. This plays around the Blessing of Might. Kind of hedging his bets at this point.
And Vine Cleaver's still not lethal by itself.
Still think you do the Vine Cleaver. Alan's going to be relying on this Hagatha to give him some kind of answer to these Silverhand recruits.
Eureka's definitely not it. Hemet just removes the second Healing Rain from his deck. He doesn't really want that.
So there's a couple spicy outs here for Alan. I was actually going to say that one of the outs could be Gluttonous Ooze into some Evolves, give him a Baron Geddon. That's pretty spicy. There's Gluttonous Ooze into, you know, Beakered Lightning.
Yeah.
He would gain the armor for the Gluttonous Ooze. He
Oh,
wouldn't
he would.
die.
You're right. He'd gain the 4.
I don't think he can evolve quite to Baron Geddon level yet. Ooh, Life Drinker's not bad. He needs like a Beakered Lightning here.
Life Drinker gives him another chance. This is 5 power on board. Alan's now at 8. Not dead, that he can see. No, he's dead. That was a very close game, even though it looked like it really shouldn't have been because Orange had level up on turn 5 after a Purifier's Maul, but still Alan bringing it down to the final turns and making it look a lot closer than it should have been. Orange going to take game number 1. He's going to be bringing his Paladin out yet again. And with the Shaman from Alan gone, that leaves Odd Warrior and Death Rattle Hunter to try and counter the Paladin.
This isn't looking too good for Alan right now. I think Odd Warrior has potential to beat it. It's probably a really close matchup. Maybe it might be slightly Odd Warrior favored. But a lot of times, you know, Odd Paladin just gets there against Odd Warrior. Odd Warrior's hero power, although it's great and you keep gaining the life over and over, Odd Paladin just swarms you with minions that eventually you may not have an answer to. You may just be looking at an awkward hand of at least the Trailblazer, Faceless. If you're playing Carnivorous Cube, the Carnivorous Cube. And you just kind of look at this hand, you're like, none of these answer 1/1s.
It can be very close, but the Paladin just keeps putting pressure into play. And eventually they chip away at the armor. Maybe Alan doesn't have armor for Reckless Flurry. Dinomatic is going to be one of the best cards in this matchup for Alan. If he can land that and clear a board while presenting a body at the same time, then he might be able to swing things. Looking at his warrior list, he's running a copy of Fiery War Axe. He also has Tinkmaster Overspark and a Big Game Hunter. So no cubes here.
I think the Tinkmaster plus the Big Game Hunter is a little bit overkill. That's my opinion. But I love me some Tinkmaster. Tinkmaster Overspark essentially does what Big Game Hunter would do a lot of the times, especially in matchups like Even Warlock, where you would want the Big Game Hunter. It basically neutralizes a Giant or a Hooked Reaver, because a lot of times Even Warlock will only play that 1 minion.
Has the chance to hit Twilight Drake as well, though, whereas Big Game Hunter can't.
Yes.
This opening hand for Alan is quite heavy. He does have a Brawl to reset the board later on. And more importantly, Orange missed his turn 1.
I mean, part of that was you saw Orange deliberately keep Level Up and Corridor Creeper. He wanted a pretty value hand. I don't blame him for keeping the Level Up. I think that's one of the most important cards in this matchup.
Yeah, I agree.
You have to land one of those to win the game. And by land one of those, I mean you have to get it on like 5, 6 minions at least.
Depending on how much time the Warriors had, how much armor they've gained so far. Alan just thinking about his curve here. Coining into the Stonehill means Mind Control tech for next turn, very likely. Then Mogushan Warden on turn 4. It's not a good minion, but it can kill some dudes.
In this matchup, I think that minion's bonkers. He just single-handedly takes on the whole, all of Uther's minions. Just takes on the entire army. When's the last time you've seen a card take on an entire army?
The light protects me.
Well, Brawl does really good things against Kangor's Endless Army.
I didn't know we were going that literal with it. There are some cards that solo heroes, and there are some cards that solo 1/1s. Patches
Fair.
solos heroes.
Whirlwind solos 1/1.
Whirlwind solos 1/1s.
No Whirlwinds here for Alan, however. He does find the second Stonehill Defender, which is pretty much exactly what he wanted for turn 3.
It's like a baby Mogushan Warrior.
Whoa.
Oh, that's
Primordial
some
Drake is
value.
good in this matchup. But Tarlord as well. There's no equality. There's no silence.
This is actually a tough pick because although Primordial Drake can answer just a swarm of 1/1s, Tarlord is a strong consideration because it will come down a turn earlier. I'm not sure how relevant that will be with Alan's current hand. There's also some argument for Lich King. Lich King can give you some value that sometimes you may need.
Can find you Death and Decay. Can find Doom Pact.
It could be like a mini Primordial Drake. You play the Lich King, then you get the Death and Decay.
You could get a Lich King. You could even get a Primordial Drake. Divine Favor found for Orange is a really big pickup. He's going to need that reload at some point, and he is only playing one copy of it, so nice to have found it already.
This is the most awkward part about keeping the Corridor Creepers, is typically it's a very strong keep because it allows you to kind of escalate board states quicker. But against Warrior, where they're not really playing minions, they don't get as cheap as it would in a aggressive mirror.
And you also need to really time very well when you want to put the Corridor Creeper onto the board. Don't overextend too much into a brawl, so generally you would like to play it after, but you do need to bait the removal. All right, Orange going exactly 4 minions on the board there. But gets to keep that Corridor Creeper, which is very nice.
This isn't looking too good for Orange right now.
It's been too slow of a start, I think.
I mean, that might partly be because he kept the level up in the Corridor Creeper. Now, that mulligan may be correct. But the biggest issue is when you miss that one drop or you miss those important turns, you're just making 1-1s, which against Warrior is
not
decent.
As good against, or not as good as against a lot of the other decks right
Not
now.
as good as it is against something like Odd Rogue.
I'd much rather be making 1-1s against Hunter.
Or any other deck. He has to Divine Favor this early.
It's a really low value Divine
That's
Favor.
rough.
Good. I mean, 3 cards for 3 mana, it's still better than Arcane Intellect, but this could have been maybe 5 or 6 cards later down the road. Does find Fungalmancer, which is one of the better tools against the Warrior. You want to go high instead of necessarily wide, but the big issue that we're running into time and again is the Paladin is forced to go wide. Its entire strategy is to go wide and then capitalize on the opponent's inability to deal with that. The Warrior, even without Whirlwind, even without Bloodraiser, does have ample ability to deal with wide boards.
The good part for Alan right now is he kept the Brawl deliberately to try and answer some kind of board state. That's the major way you win as the Warrior, is you have something like Flurry, Dynamatic, Brawl, one of these very important key cards. You use it in the mid stage of the game and then just take the board afterwards when they run out of resources. Orange having to use the Divine Favor for only 3 cards and not tempoing out that much pressure on top of Alan has a 3-3 on the board himself, means he doesn't have to commit this Brawl yet. And the longer he can hold the Brawl, the better it is for him.
Yeah, but if he doesn't Brawl this turn, what does he do?
Faceless a
Nothing.
Corridor Creeper.
Nothing this turn was really good for Alan. The Mogushan gets run over a little bit too easily by the Corridor Creepers. And the Faceless is not going to get much use. So
I like it.
I guess this is okay, but it's underwhelming no matter what. This wasn't going to be a good turn.
5 mana, 2/5. And I
That
think
bad boy
it's
used to be
good.
a 5/5. What were we thinking?
We were playing it in all of our decks. We were thinking on the right track. That card was insane. It's still fairly decent. I think that's probably just because Odd Paladin swarmed the board so much, but it's still a fairly decent card.
Instead of going wide, Orange is starting to push a little bit taller here. Trying to play around Brawl as best he can, but when you go tall as Odd Paladin, now you start to play into things like Super Collider. And that gets incredible value. You play into the silences that Alan has that normally wouldn't be very good. But Orange he needs one turn where Alan can't remove. That's all he needs, just the one turn, and then he will be able to deal a ton of damage. But this entire game is going to be Orange trying to find that turn and Alan saying, no, I'm never going to let you have it. So who's going to miss first?
Well, the one good thing going for Orange right now, he's got that Vine Cleaver next turn, and Alan has no weapon removal in sight. When you hit 7 mana as Odd Paladin, if you're not playing a Vine Cleaver, you're doing something wrong. You play that Vine Cleaver, you ship it to the dome, You make some silver hand recruits, and then you try and end the game with level up on the following turn. So it's looking fairly decent for Orange right now, because this is the game state I was referring to earlier. A lot of times you get to the point where Odd Warrior has such an awkward hand of just random minions that don't correlate with one another.
The deck can be a bit heavy. It's got the removal that it needs, but Reckless Flurry means you have to have armor. Brawl means there needs to be enough minions on the board for the chance of Brawl to succeed is drastically higher than the chance for it to fail. And right now, Orange hasn't given Alan any good brawls, and there is no Reckless Flurry. However, just looking at these two guys, Orange looks very stressed.
I mean, I don't blame him. For Alan, I can understand where Alan would be less stressed. He is sitting at 6-0, I believe.
He can afford to lose 2 series and win 1 and still be golden. He will still qualify. Orange, if he loses here, needs to win his next 2.
And I remember us mentioning earlier, I'm actually pretty sure there's a couple 7-2s that don't make it.
No, you're kidding.
I think there's like 2 or 3 7-2s that don't make it, because there's there's 200 some people at this tournament.
Because I'd asked somebody and they speculated that a couple 6-3s would get in, because that's usually the way it goes.
That's typically how it is, but that's typically with a
Oh,
160, 170 person
yeah,
tournament.
this was 208.
This is 208.
Well, that's
208
not
is
good.
larger than 170, contrary to popular belief.
However, both these guys have gotten a lot of their wins very early. Could be the players who started, you know, 1-2, something like that.
It will definitely be
3-2.
the players that started 0-2, 1-2, if they do make it to that 7-2 record, that don't get there. However, still kind of you're treading on a thin line there. It's definitely scary.
Really nice brawl from Alan. He found the second one, decided to rip that first one, and the Argent Squire is what lived for Orange to the best possible outcome. Not even a recruit sticking around. But after seeing that brawl, Orange takes this as the signal to go. He can finally develop big onto the board and try to land this level up again. We can see Alan has not only second brawl, but that Primordial Drake he picked up off of the Stonehill defender, and Orange can't possibly play around that.
Not really much you can do about that. I mean, he knows it could be something like that. But you can't play around and snap Primordial Drake. I don't blame Alan. That looked like a really strong play there. Clearing up the board, developing a 4-8 with taunt. Orange is going to have to fight through this. But the good thing going for Orange right now is he really only had to hero power last turn to force out this prime removal.
That's true. He didn't actually expend anything more than a hero power and a weapon charge. And he has another Vine Cleaver in the deck, and he can hero power every single turn. Plus, he picked up that Sunkeeper Tarim. If Alan is forced to brawl another board of 1-1s, then Orange not only has 2 level ups left, but the Tarim. And that leaves only 2 Reckless Flurries for Alan.
I mean, if Alan can cheat a Stonehill defender to get a Primordial Drake in this matchup, I think it's fair that Orange can cheat a Stonehill defender to get the Tarim.
Can see how...
Look at how strong this is.
Like, this matchup is not straightforward. Historically, it's been Control Warrior beats Paladins that go wide because Control Warrior has the best removal in the game, or it's supposed to. Control Warrior doesn't have Spreading Plague, though. So things aren't nearly as good as they seem. The Paladin might even be slightly favored in this matchup.
I wouldn't be surprised. I think that a lot of that comes down to tech choices in the card scene earlier on. And the Sunkeeper Tarim lives.
Forces out the brawl from Alan, but Orange is now down to just 1 weapon charge and the hero power to try to get more recruits on board for that level up, and his hand is starting to look a little bit clunky. So now we might be transitioning to a stage of the game where Alan can fight minion v minion a little bit more. Maybe he's got the time now, especially with Ziliax and Zola in the hand.
I mean, the issue is Alan is now out of removal, and Orange has level up in hand, and he's had that. And Alan knows he kept that from the start. So if Orange sticks any kind of silver hand recruit board, this game could just be over.
Alan taking his time there to figure out what he really wanted to do. Had the option to double shield slam the Sunkeeper Tarim, but that seems like a bit of an overreaction to a 3-7.
Yeah, I think that'd be a bit much, especially when you can go something like Zilliax, Hero Power Shield Sam on the following turn.
If I'm Orange here, this might be the best opportunity he's going to get to put Baku in play.
I think so.
Baku means you can't Hero Power, and he does have double level up in hand. So you probably play to the double level up next turn to get you, 4 5/5s potentially that just win the game.
Yeah, I think the Baku might be a little bit ambitious, but it definitely is an opportunity. There is some strong consideration for it because the 7/8 won't die to something like a Reckless Flurry unless there was Shield Slam Reckless Flurry. But the one thing I love about this Paladin is if you just play very patiently and you just play out Silverhand Recruit after Silverhand Recruit, eventually you'll just overwhelm your opponent. And the reason Orange is doing this is because he doesn't want to lose to a Dynamatic.
Absolutely. This loses to Reckless Flurry. Orange hasn't seen one yet. And there would have been better places for Alan to play Reckless Flurry than Brawl, essentially. So if there was Flurry, Orange knows it would have been played. So this is a smart choice from him.
Orange probably has a pretty strong read on what Alan's got in the hand.
Super Collider's not bad, though. It will let Alan clear up 2 of the recruits. He can silence one of the others and then Hero Power as well.
He has the Shield Slam 2 Silverhand recruits.
All right, so doesn't want to use the Owl this turn. Instead uses both Shield Slams, which feels kind of bad. Taram's still sticking to the board, and we can see Orange has another level up. Alan is officially gassed out. All he's got left are these Super Collider charges.
These Iron Beak Owls can only do but so much.
Yeah, Orange can position this board, so there's an Acaris veteran in between 2 of the recruits with to level up, or Alan is forced to hit into the Taram if Orange doesn't level up this turn. So he can really protect his board nicely.
Those poor Owls. They just really wanted to be a part of this game. And now they're just sitting there in the hand, looking all sad, wondering, why didn't Alan play us?
Speak your peace.
What did we do wrong?
Alan's hurting. And this is kind of what I was talking about when I chose Orange before the match began. It looked like his Paladin had a good chance across the board, all against the decks from Alan once the Tog Druid is banned. Death Rattle Hunter's really poor against Paladin. Shudderwalk Shaman isn't that great. And Odd Warrior seems better than it actually is in practice. Odd Paladin is back predominantly in the meta for a reason. And I will say, I'm a much bigger fan of it than I am of Even Paladin. I think Even's got its matchups, but Odd has been looking really strong.
It's just that aggro deck you can fit in the lineup and kind of be confident and very happy with.
It's the aggro deck that beats other aggro decks.
Still not, out of the water for Alan yet. Still got a pretty, strong turn there.
And he does pick up the Dr. Boom, which, upon playing it, has a 1 in 5 chance to hit Kaboom right off the bat.
He's gonna need a little bit more than Kaboom. Because
he doesn't want to
these
necessarily
recruits are
play
3/3s.
Yeah, he doesn't want to necessarily play the Dr. Boom because then, if Orange knocks off all the armor, Reckless Flurry is not active. But this is still a chance for Alan to pick up Reckless Flurry to clear the board. And if that happens, Orange has nothing left. Alan is just 1 Reckless Flurry away, I think, from being able to almost surely close this out.
I would say so as well. That's the last level up from Orange's side. Orange is thinking about even trying to play around the Reckless Flurry by putting one of these 3/3s in first.
Hey, Jace, I have some news that you're really going to like.
Tell me the news, Cora. Give it to me. I know what it is.
Swaggy always has Skull on turn 5G. Had Skull in his first 2 games, and then closed it out in game number 5 versus Sintalal. He's going to top 16.
Whew. That's good to hear. That is good to hear. I'm a huge Swaggy G fan.
Garrett's a good guy. I'm happy to see him doing well here. All of Endemic.
All of Endemic
very well,
killing
actually.
it. I believe before going into the set, their total match score was 20-4.
That's gross.
Teray was 5-1, Killing All Day was 5-1, Swaggy G was 6-0, and then Lead Paint, Frankenbox was 4-2.
Alan trying to deal with this board as much as he possibly can. 16 damage for Orange.
Oh, and the
That's
Void Ripper
going
is
to
definitely
be
going to do it.
lethal with the Leroy Jenkins. Allen was so close, and honestly, had he found a Reckless Flurry that game, I think this could have gone in his favor quite easily, but that's the luck of the draw. He just wasn't able to get it this game. Orange going to a 2-0 lead with the Paladin, and that just leaves the Death Rattle Hunter for Allen to try to reverse here. It's possible, but it pretty much requires Deathstalker Rexar on turn 6 every time to beat the Paladin.
And here's another issue is even after Allen beats this Paladin, if he can beat the Paladin with the Death Rattle Hunter, he has to beat Priest.
And that is...
Priest. That is an abysmal matchup. Psychic Scream's a card, Cora.
Well, and he would also need to... he could beat Melee Druid. Death Rattle Hunter versus Melee...
Odd Warrior I'm up on. But that's not the decks being played right now. Right now it's Odd Paladin versus Death Rattle Hunter. And Allen full tossing his hand. Doesn't want the Terror Scale Stalkers.
Spider Bomb is a great card with Terror Scale Stalker, but not when it's going to be killing 1/1s that only cost half of a hero power every single turn. And this hand is worse for Allen. This is not what he wants to
This
be
hand
looking
is
at here.
gross from both players. One of them is the good kind of gross, where you're like, oh, wow, this is sick. And the other one is like,
This is making me sick.
this is literally, this is making me sick.
Yep.
King Crush in the opening hand. Hunter's Mark. You know, Hunter's Mark's going to be great against those 1/1 Cora.
Yes, they would. If those 1/1s were dino sized. No candle shot for Allen. Okay.
All right, you know, got a little bit of game here.
Okay.
Prince Kaliseth is one of those cards that in this deck, it still matters, but it doesn't matter as much. So it's just nice to have something to play out on turn 2, that way you can contest the board. But buffing the majority of minions inside of Allen's deck isn't going to make as big a difference if it were something like Zoo Warlock, or it were something like Prince Rogue. I don't know. I was trying to think of another aggro deck that had Prince in it. I was trying to think.
Zoo Warlock is the premier example of a deck that thrives with Kaliseth in it. Kaliseth is in this Hunter deck because there's nothing better to play on turn 2. Really nice when coupled with a Saronite Chain Gang, but it's rare that these Hunters actually are playing Saronite Chain Gang now. Allen doesn't have it in the deck.
Yeah, Saronite Chain Gang got cut for things like Defender of Argus, because Defender of Argus works better with the Devilsaur eggs.
Reporting for duty. Reporting for duty.
And you saw there, Orange was able to clear up the Spider Bomb just for the cost of his hero power, redevelop the board going into a coin level up next turn, into a level up the turn after.
Yeah, I'm liking this coin level up into level up setup. The only bad thing is there's probably gonna be a Houndmaster Shaw waiting in the midst.
Yes, Houndmaster Shaw maybe forces Orange to trade 2 of his recruits, but then that just lets the Corridor Creeper come down for free. It really then throws off the turn 6 play because level up would only hit 2 recruits at that point.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised to see if Orange maybe just goes with the Fungalmancer instead. The level up's so strong here, though. I just keep looking at this level up, wishing I didn't have to trade into a Shaw. Maybe Orange leaves the Shaw up, but that's very weak to something like Flanking Strike.
You gotta kill the Shaw.
I would have a long think about it, a long thought.
Think, think, think.
To battle.
You kill
I
it.
would look like the thinking man.
Oh,
And
Orange
I don't
had
know
to
if I'm
think
gonna
about
kill
it.
it.
And he says, nope. If there's no flanking strike for Allen, spoiler alert, there's one, then this second level up is crazy. Witchwood Grizzly's just better on board, though. And now Orange cannot get through to that Houndmaster Shaw unless he plays the Fungalmancer or the second level up this turn. And now this forces a double trade here as well.
I think this is what Orange was imagining. He said even if it were something like a Witchwood Grizzly, which is the most prominent turn 5 play,
Yes.
or were even something like a cube setup, he wouldn't be that initially worried about it. So I like the way Orange took this line of play of ignoring the Houndmaster Shaw, as it, with the Fungalmancer, it led to stronger plays later on.
Was there a way, though, to sequence this so that you don't end up with 2 recruits that get absolutely destroyed by Deathstalker Rexar on turn 6? That's the only thing I would look at. If trading over the Houndmaster Shaw would have done absolutely nothing differently, and we would have ended up at this point no matter what, then this is correct. If we could have somehow protected recruits at 5 health after second level up or Fungalmancer, probably want to look at that going into turn 6. But it probably wasn't a way, but that's the only thing to think about here.
The other way it would have panned out is you would have had the Witchwood Grizzly hit the board, and you would have had to value trade all of your Silverhand recruits with the second level up into it anyways, or the Corridor Creeper. So it actually, theoretically, would have worked out worse because the Deathstalker Rexar would have came down, clearing up the entire board the other way, whereas this way, worst case scenario, the Corridor Creeper would still live.
And again,
Very
no way
fringe.
that Orange could know for sure there was a Witchwood Grizzly in hand, but the play that he made was forcing Alan to have a response, forcing him to have either a Grizzly or a second Spider Bomb or a flanking strike. If he didn't have those things, Orange was just going to win the game. And it still looks like he's very likely just going to win the game with that Fine Cleaver next turn or a Hero Power and level up.
I love the sneaky, sneaky Void Rippers.
So much damage.
Flipping around the Corridor Creeper. Can fit in a Hero Power and the Righteous Protector as well, making that 1-5 so annoying for Alan to try and get through. And even, it would have to be something like a Mossy Horror, but then the Mossy Horror would just allow the Wolf to trade into the Corridor Creeper, and after that, the Vine Clipper just ends the game. And I'm not sure what Alan could go for here. This is just going to be game, and Alan's going to give it up.
Really very rough series there for Alan. Orange with a 3-0 sweep from that odd Paladin deck. This